Coatesville, Pennsylvania. So, what is this? It's like nothing anyone should see on the public highway, but hey, wait a minute, it's turning into the field. Maybe it's a newfangled potato planter or something. No, sir, it's an aerial plane with turntable wings. George Spratt, the inventor, figured that's how she could taxi along the highways and maybe the skyways. The experts give 10 to 1 she can't fly. Georgie's set on taking a chance, and there he goes! And that's the time the experts got fooled. Good boy, George.
Ship here with a three-wheel landing gear. Any kind of a landing is perfectly all right. Frontwards or sideways, one wheel, or any other way that you wish. The GPS sender steers with a wheel instead of the conventional rudder bar, both in the air and on the ground. Similar to this. The flippers are handled by the fore and aft motion of the stick, and the ailerons by the side motion. The throttle is directed behind the wheel like a Model T Ford. All right, Andy, let's go.
Water, so why shouldn't it raise an airplane? Perhaps that's what Mr. Jonathan Caldwell thought when he designed and built this contraption, which is being shown to the public for the first time. The mill wheels going round are supposed to represent the flapping wings of a goose. The wheels turn all right, but it just won't leave the ground, not even drag it. It moves, though, and that's something. But any auto will go pretty well downhill. A good idea just the same, Professor, and better luck next time.
Don't laugh. This thing that looks as if half of it was missing really works. It's a new tubular plane invented by an Italian engineer who believes this design will someday break all records for speed and stability. You've often seen a barrel roll, but here's one that flies. The airplane of the future, according to its inventor, Dr. Snyder. He calls it the flying wing, and experts think it's going to revolutionize aviation. It's supposed to be foolproof and has lots of speed and pep, as the doc's going to show you right now. Here she goes. Looks as if the inventor copied his idea from a butterfly. Being all wing turns it into a glider in case the motor gets heebie-jeebies and makes tail spins impossible, Dr. Snyder claims. It can top 100 miles an hour and is supposed to be as safe as old Dobbin for the family. If what the doc says comes true, we'll all be hopping around in these pancakes very soon.
No, it's not an airplane, and it isn't a balloon. It's a spindle airship, a new invention that has excited aeronautical engineers. Perhaps Mr. Popper, the inventor, will explain the idea for us.
In place of wings, we use spindles on this ship. The large ones are the main lifters, and the small ones act as stabilizers. This is done by spiraling so that the landing with speed would be about 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Now as they revolve, the spindles, with their little indentations, are creating a lifting vacuum above. Engineers predict the spindles will be more efficient than the wings of an airplane. There's only this about the spindle airship. She hasn't flown yet, but who can say she won't?
It's a flying umbrella. Here's the latest in aviation, which an inventor's hope will be the family flavor of the air. And it really works. The single circular wing allows a quick takeoff, and it can go 135 miles an hour. Don't worry about engine trouble. That pancake top allows it to drop slower than a parachute. And it can land at your front door. Maybe it's the future aerial taxi.
A tailless answer to the call issued by the Aeronautics Director of the Department of Commerce for a flivver of the air.
It is my hope that someday that this little ship will become the great-great-granddaddy of America's air flivver.
Just a pair of wings and a place to sit. And what a place. The tiny craft weighs 1,100 pounds and has a wing spread of only 30 feet. A device on the wing tips controls direction.
Meet the professor, folks. For 20 years, he's been watching the Killylouberg and has finally discovered what makes it fly. All it takes is a tank full of oxygen, a left-handed monkey wrench, and a couple of nuts. Here we go. History in the making. It's the happiest day of the professor's life. Let's hope he's put salt on its tail. Going, that's all.
Something new to make flying safer. Stabilizers like these keep the plane level while in flight. The pilot's taking up the ship to show you how the device works. There he is, getting out of the cabin, leaving the plane completely under automatic control. See how smoothly it flies, without a human hand to guide it. Now the pilot's on the fuselage, and no one is in the cockpit. The test is a success and should encourage one-armed drivers who want to hug their girls.
More convincing proof of the amazing and rapid progress of aviation you wouldn't want, I'm sure, than this demonstration at Baltimore today. J. Carl Bauer and Louis Huber went to work in their spare time to construct this poor man's dream, a plane propelled by bicycle pedals. It's a momentous occasion. All aviation stops to watch. Did someone say they laughed at the Wright brothers? Well, this pair will try again, too. Maybe make a bicycle out of airplane parts.
Paris offers a real novelty in aircraft. It's called the elytroplane, and is based on the principles of a flying mosquito with the sting left out. Its tail sticks up in the middle and is supposed to prevent slips and nosedives. Now we'll see what we will see. It works. The brainchild of inventor Vicomte de Rouge speeds 60 miles an hour. For 5 years, the Vicomte has been laughed at, but now it is he who has the laugh.
Folks, here I am with a new device called the ornithopter. This device, I expect to attain flight in the air. Through a system of leverage advantage, plus a man's physical power, I believe it's possible to fly as a bird. And here I am, you can look this device over. It appears heavy, it's light.
Well, that sounds okay if it works. But if Bertie doesn't fly when he makes that jump, he's going to get a real cold bath. Here he goes. Splasho. Well, he got the bath all right. But is little Willard discouraged? Not a bit. Just wait a moment and you'll see. Now his feathers are all dry again. He's had a good dinner of canary seed, so maybe this time he'll really do it. He's going to soar gracefully off the rock, so he says. Keep your eye on the birdie. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Here you see another type helicopter or direct lift air machine. Our principle, as you will see, is a flat plate or disc type propeller moving the air fast enough to produce a lift. Our engine is connected to our transmission by a jack shaft driven by a chain. Our transmission rotates and reciprocates our propeller. As the propeller goes up, we get our lifting power on the down reciprocation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll show you how this works.
The plump chap there is a butcher by trade, but in his spare moments he's a student of aerodynamics. And right now he's demonstrating in a small way the principle of a new rocket device he's working on. Something must have gone haywire. But here's the real thing, Jack's bicycle rocket glider. And he's all set for a tryout here at the Metropolitan Airport. If it'll just work as he hopes, he'll be famous tomorrow. Then goodbye loin chops and rump steaks. The dog collar he's putting on is an ingenious arrangement which will enable him to aid the flight of his craft by a gentle flapping of the wings. So. With a little help from everything but gravity, Cohen gets his remarkable flying machine underway at terrific speed. That is, it'll get up speed if the assistant rocket engineer will only hurry up and put a match to the power plant. Oh, There goes another dream up in smoke. The idea wasn't so hot, but Cohen's burning up. What he should have next time is a pair of asbestos pants.
Convair Division of General Dynamics received authorization on 12 February 1969 to proceed with the design, fabrication, installation, and testing of the General Electric M61A1 20mm Vulcan gun system and of a clear-top canopy. F-106A, serial number 580795, arrived at the San Diego facility on 17 February, and the design and aircraft modifications were initiated in our experimental building. The gun and accessories are palletized and enclosed in a structural box suspended from the aft center missile bay roof. This location was selected to eliminate engine inlet ingestion problems associated with other aircraft gun installations. The structural enclosure has an opening in the forward bulkhead for the ram air inlet, with the ram air scoop located in the environmental compartment door. This ram air system operates whenever gun firing is initiated and performs continuously for 30 seconds after firing shutdown. A double-ended, closed-loop, linkless ammunition feed system is used. Empty cases and cleared rounds are returned to the ammunition drum rather than being ejected during firing. The drum holds 650 rounds of 20mm ball, armor-piercing incendiary, or high-explosive incendiary ammunition. The entrance chute feeds ammunition to the breech, with the exit chute returning empty cases to the drum. Installation of the gun system in a structural box provides a means of isolating gun components from the missile bay and facilitates environmental conditioning during firing. Installing the gun necessitates removal of the Air 2A capability, but does not affect the AIM-4 system. During Convair's testing, the forward AIM-4 missiles and launchers were removed to make space for the instrumentation. Aft missile bay inner doors were modified to close on the sides of the gun compartment. Missile bay doors forward of the gun muzzle were also modified to prevent damage from gun blast. Other modifications included a 27-gallon per minute Vickers hydraulic pump in the secondary system to provide sufficient hydraulic flow to set the gunfire rate at 4,300 shots per minute. An optical reflex gun sight, consisting of components from several different gun sight models, was provided from Air Force inventory and was mounted to the forward windshield frame support. The design, fabrication, and installation of the gun system and canopy were completed on 23 July 1969, and the aircraft was ferried to Edwards Air Force Base for ground and flight testing on 6 August 1969. From 8 through 12 August, the aircraft's instrumentation subsystem and ground support instrumentation systems for recording temperatures, pressures, and load stress parameters were set up at the Edwards Air Force Base 1,000-foot gun butts, and initial testing started. Initial ammunition loadings and proofing of gun firing procedures were conducted, and the first ground firing of 100-round bursts was accomplished on 13 August. An 8mm bore sight target was placed 1,000 inches forward of the gun muzzle. This target is utilized to align the gun with aircraft geometry for proper bore sighting and includes corrections for throw and dwell, which are associated with gun firing dynamics. The gun was fired through the 1,000-inch bore sight target into the 14 by 14-foot target at a range of 1,000 feet. Of the rounds fired, 95 to 99% were within an 8-foot diameter bullseye on this target. Ground test firings progressed from 100 through 200, 400, 500, and 650 round bursts. Due to the shooting system and the final rounds clearing cycle, the gun fires 625 shots out of 650 rounds loaded. On 25 August, the final ground firing of 625 rounds was conducted with the aircraft's engine running and with the gun controlled from the cockpit. Prior to receipt of the gun at Convair, 17,784 rounds were fired through this system for reliability and proofing tests at the General Electric Armament Facility at Burlington, Vermont. During Convair's ground test program, 4,113 rounds of ball ammunition were fired. A combined total of 21,897 rounds were fired through the system before proceeding with the flight test phase. Ammunition was loaded at the Edwards Air Force Base hot gun line in preparation for the first flight on 27 August. A complete complement of 650 rounds of ball ammunition was linked together as a continuous belt on the ammunition cart. Gun loading was accomplished with a pneumatic loader. The gun can also be loaded hydraulically with power supplied by the engine running at idle. As ammunition is received into the gun system, the loading links are ejected overboard and retained for future use. Upon completion of the loading sequence, the fairing door was secured and the aircraft was ready for its first gun firing flight. The symbols on the F-106A flight envelope indicate the actual altitude and airspeed gun firing parameters successfully conducted by Convair. Altitude, 3,000 to 35,000 feet. Mach number, 0.6 to 1.9. Calibrated airspeed, 165 to 690 knots. The F-106 gun system performed successfully at the aircraft's design load factors of -3G to +7G, and during maximum side slips, hinge moment limit turns, and in simulated aerial combat maneuvers. The superior flight performance of the F-106 above 35,000 feet was not demonstrated during this feasibility program, as the parameters of Mach and temperatures above this test altitude are redundant. Following are selected sequences from the 9 test flights conducted for data acquisition. After 25 minutes of cold soak, the first firing of 610 rounds in a continuous burst was conducted over the Pacific Missile Range at 35,000 feet, 0.6 Mach. Altitude 25,000 feet, 1.1 Mach, while firing 90 rounds. The camera speed is 250 frames per second. Therefore, the gun action is slowed considerably. Gun gas trails aft and away from the engine inlets and is not a problem with this installation. Here, the aircraft is in a -1G pushover at 35,000 feet altitude, 0.92 Mach, while firing an 87-round burst. Altitude 25,000 feet, 1.1 Mach, while firing a 193-round burst. A 90-round firing at a calibrated airspeed of 165 knots at 10,000 feet. The clear-top canopy consists of a one-piece, 3/4-inch thick cast acrylic enclosure formed to extend over the top with the sides bulged to the pilot's head. This acrylic enclosure fits into modified existing canopy structure and is interchangeable with the production canopy assembly. In order to meet the stringent schedule and cost commitments of this program, the canopy was cleared for unpressurized flight only and was restricted to 25,000 feet altitude at a speed of 660 knots calibrated. Firing 197 rounds with a clear-top canopy installed was accomplished at 25,000 feet, 1.5 Mach, 660 knots calibrated. A total of 5,237 rounds were fired during Convair's flight test program. A cumulative total of 27,134 rounds were expended during all phases of testing. 2 AIM-4 missiles were carried in the aft bay during a series of flights. Firing of the M61A1 gun does result in an increase in the vibration level imposed on the launch rail of the AIM-4 missiles. This increased vibration level is, however, significantly below the level imposed by the turbulent airstream when the missiles are extended to their normal launch position. A total of 7.5 months were required from go-ahead to the delivery of the aircraft to Tyndall Air Force Base on 25 September, 4 days ahead of schedule. Successful completion of the M61A1 gun and clear-top canopy test program is signified by the Victory Roll.